The sleek Zarkonian vessel Serenity's Hope drifted through the outer rim of the Sol system, its bioluminescent hull flickering weakly like a dying star. Ambassador Zex pressed his six-fingered hand against the viewing port, watching Earth grow larger in the distance. His silver eyes held the weight of a dying civilization. "Ambassador, we're receiving transmissions from the human homeworld," reported Navigation Officer Zircon, his voice barely above a whisper. The young Zarkonian's usual confident demeanor had been replaced by exhaustion. 3 months of faster-than-light travel had drained their ship's power reserves to critical levels. Zex nodded slowly. "Open communications? It's time we ask for help." On Earth, Dr. Sarah Chun sat in the United Nations First Contact Center in Geneva, her coffee growing cold as she monitored the deep space sensors. At 42, she had dedicated her life to the possibility of this moment, actual contact with an alien species. When the readings spiked, her heart raced. "Director Park, you need to see this," Sarah called out, her voice cutting through the busy hum of the command center. Jung-Hoon Park rushed to her station, his usually neat hair disheveled from a sleepless night. As Earth's Director of Xenological Affairs, he had prepared for this scenario countless times, but theory felt different from reality. "It's a ship," Sarah continued, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. "Large, definitely not human technology. They're broadcasting on multiple frequencies, trying to establish contact." The main screen flickered to life, and Zex's image appeared. His tall, slender frame and elongated features marked him as clearly non-human, but his posture spoke of dignity and desperation in equal measure. "People of Earth," Zex began, his translator device converting his words into clear English. "I am Ambassador Zex of the Zarkonian Republic. We come to you not as conquerors, but as refugees seeking aid." A murmur rippled through the command center. Jung-Hoon stepped forward, activating the response channel. "Ambassador Zex, I am Director Jung-Hoon Park of Earth's First Contact Division. We welcome you in peace. What aid do you seek?" Zex's expression grew heavier. "Our star system is dying, consumed by an ancient enemy we call the Devourers. These entities consume entire worlds, leaving nothing but empty space. 12 billion Zarkonian souls face extinction. We have exhausted our options and fled across the galaxy seeking help." In the background, other humans began gathering around the displays. Among them stood Min-Jun Kim, a military strategist, and Dr. Seo-Yan Lee, Earth's leading xenobiologist. Both watched with growing concern. "What kind of help do you need?" Sarah asked, taking over the communication with Jung-Hoon's nod. "Ships, weapons, sanctuary for our people," Zex replied. "We have studied your species from afar. Humans are young, but possess remarkable ingenuity. Your rapid technological advancement in just a few centuries impressed our scientists. We hope you might succeed where others have failed." Zircon appeared beside his ambassador, holding a data tablet. "Ambassador, our scouts report the Devourers have consumed the Kethter system. They're following our path. We estimate 6 months before they reach this sector." The humans exchanged worried glances. Min-Jun stepped forward, his military training evident in his posture. "Ambassador, what exactly are these Devourers? What kind of threat level are we discussing?" Zex activated a holographic display showing a star map. Red zones marked dead systems, dozens of them, stretching across a significant portion of the galaxy. They appear as living darkness, consuming matter and energy. No conventional weapon affects them. They destroyed the Veltar Empire, which had technology centuries ahead of yours. The Christan Confederation fell in mere weeks. Seo-Yan studied the data with scientific fascination mixed with horror. "How many species have they eliminated?" 43 confirmed extinctions, Zircon answered quietly. "Countless more displaced or absorbed. We are what remains of a once great civilization. Jung-hoon felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had just learned they weren't alone in the universe, and immediately faced a threat that could end everything. Yet looking around the room, he saw determination rather than fear in his colleagues' faces. "Ambassador Zex," Jung-hoon said formally, "Earth extends its protection to you and your people. We'll need detailed information about these devourers and time to prepare our response." Zex's silver eyes widened with hope. "You would help us? Even knowing the danger?" Sarah smiled grimly. "Humans don't abandon people in need. Besides, if these devourers are heading this way, we're fighting for our survival too." As the Zarkonian ship was guided to Earth's orbital stations, none of the aliens realized they had just awakened humanity's greatest strength, the absolute refusal to yield when protecting others. Asterisk. Within 72 hours of first contact, Earth had transformed into a fortress. President Martinez declared a planetary state of emergency, not of panic, but of unified purpose. The Global Defense Initiative, dormant since its formation decades earlier, roared to life with unprecedented speed. Dr. Sarah Chun found herself appointed as chief liaison to the Zarkonian refugees. She stood in the massive hangar bay of Luna Station, watching as thousands of silver-skinned aliens disembarked from their rescue ships. Their children clung to parents, eyes wide with fear and wonder. "They're beautiful," whispered Dr. Seo Yan Lee, standing beside Sarah with a research tablet. "Their bone structure suggests they evolved on a high-gravity world, but their nervous system appears incredibly advanced." Ambassador Zex approached them, flanked by several Zarkonian scientists. His relief at reaching safety was evident, but worry lines creased his elongated features. "Dr. Chun, my people are grateful beyond words. However, we must discuss the devourers immediately." "Time is not our ally," Sarah nodded. "We've prepared a full briefing room. Our military strategists are eager to learn everything you know." In the command center, Min-jun Kim stood before a holographic display showing Earth's defenses. Ships from every nation had been recalled, creating the largest human fleet in history. Manufacturing facilities worked around the clock, producing weapons and supplies. "Admiral Chun," Min-jun addressed Sarah's brother, "Admiral David Chun of the Pacific Fleet. What's our current battle readiness?" David studied the displays grimly. "We have 8,000 combat vessels, from destroyers to our 6 dreadnought-class ships. Not nearly enough if what the Zarkonians say is true." Jung-hoon Park entered the briefing room with Ambassador Zex and several alien scientists. The main display activated, showing the horror of the Devourer advance, dead systems stretching across space like a spreading infection. "They consume everything," explained Zarkonian scientist Dr. Valthara, her voice trembling. "Matter, energy, even light itself. We tried nuclear weapons, antimatter bombs, even quantum disruptors. Nothing worked." Min-jun leaned forward. "What about their behavior patterns? How do they move, communicate, reproduce?" Zircon, now serving as a military advisor, projected tactical data. "They appear as clouds of living darkness, sometimes kilometers wide. They move faster than light somehow, arriving without warning. We never detected communication between them." Dr. Seo Yeon raised her hand. "Have you tried biological weapons? Chemical attacks? What about electromagnetic pulses?" "Everything," Zex said sadly. "The Veltar Empire tried bioweapons. The Kristhan used dimensional bombs. All failed. The Devourers simply absorbed the attacks and grew stronger." The room fell silent. Finally, Admiral Chun spoke. "What makes you think we can succeed where advanced civilizations failed?" Zex looked around the room at the determined human faces. "Because you're different. Every species we've encountered follows logical patterns of warfare. You fight until the odds become impossible, then retreat to preserve your civilization. But studying your history, we learned something fascinating about humans. What's that? Sarah asked. You become more dangerous when cornered. Your species has a phrase, never give up. We've seen your wars, how you've fought against impossible odds, and somehow found ways to win. The Zarkonian Republic hopes human creativity might find solutions we couldn't imagine. Min Jun stood up, walking to the display, showing the approaching threat. 6 months, you said? 5 months and 3 weeks now, Zircon corrected grimly. Then we need to stop thinking defensively, Min Jun declared. Every civilization has tried to fight these things with conventional weapons. What if we're approaching this wrong? Jung Hoon frowned. What do you mean? The devourers consume matter and energy, right? What if we don't feed them? What if we give them something they can't digest? Dr. Isiojian's eyes lit up with understanding. A poison. Something that looks like food, but destroys them from within. Admiral Chun activated his communication system. All station commanders begin immediate research into exotic matter applications. I want every scientist working on theoretical weapon systems. Sarah turned to Ambassador Zex. We'll need everything. Star charts, sensor data, any recordings of devourer attacks. If we're going to kill these things, we need to understand them completely. Zex bowed deeply. You shall have everything we possess. But I must warn you, the last species that tried to study them closely was the Morphic Collective. They lasted exactly 17 days after beginning their research. Min Jun smiled grimly. Ambassador, you're about to learn something important about humans. When someone threatens our friends, we don't just fight back. We make sure the threat never bothers anyone again. As alarms began sounding across the station, signaling the beginning of humanity's greatest military mobilization, none of them realized they were about to unleash something far more terrifying than the devourers themselves. Asterisk. 5 months and 18 days after first contact, the edge of the Sol system went dark. Not the gentle darkness of space, but an absolute void that seemed to devour starlight itself. Commander Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the human flagship Indomitable, watching sensor readings that defied physics. Confirmed contact, reported Lieutenant Jung-hoon at the sensor station. Multiple devourer entities approaching from 7 different vectors. They single quotes massive. Through the viewports, the approaching threat looked like holes torn in reality itself. The creatures moved with purpose, their dark forms shifting and flowing like living liquid night. Earth's outer defense platforms began powering up, but Sarah knew conventional weapons would be useless. Admiral David Chun's voice crackled through the communication system from Earth Command. All ships maintain formation. Do not engage until we confirm Phase 1 deployment. On Luna Station, Ambassador Zex stood with Dr. Seo Yan in the observation deck, his silver eyes reflecting the approaching darkness. They're larger than before, he whispered. The devourers grow stronger with each world they consume. How long do we have? Seo Yan asked, checking her research tablet nervously. Zircon, monitoring Zarkonian sensors, turned pale. Based on their approach speed, they'll reach the outer planets in 6 hours. Jupiter in 18 hours. Earth in 36 hours. Min Jun Kim stood in the deep underground bunker that had become Earth's War Command Center. Massive screens showed the positions of every human ship, every defense platform, every secret weapon humanity had developed. President Martinez stood beside him, her face grim but determined. Status report. Min Jun commanded. Phase 1 weapons are in position, reported Dr. Chun's research team leader. All ships equipped with quantum destabilizer torpedoes. Manufacturing facilities have produced 8,000 units. Phase 2? Martinez asked. Exotic matter bombs deployed at strategic points throughout the system. If the devourers follow their usual pattern, they should encounter them within 12 hours. Ambassador Zex had provided detailed tactical information about devourer behavior. They always consumed outer system bodies first, asteroids, gas giants, moons, before moving toward the central star and inhabited worlds. Humanity planned to use this predictable behavior against them. In space, the first devourer reached Jupiter. The massive creature, easily the size of Earth's moon, began extending tendrils of pure darkness toward the gas giant. Within minutes, Jupiter's mass began decreasing as the entity absorbed matter and energy. "Target acquired," announced Commander Sarah, Chun from the Indomitable. "All ships, prepare to fire Phase 1 weapons on my mark." The human fleet formed a perfect sphere around the feeding devourer. 800 ships armed with humanity's first attempt at exotic weapons, quantum destabilizers, designed to disrupt the entity's matter absorption process. Fire! Brilliant beams of twisted energy lanced out from every human vessel, striking the devourer simultaneously. For a moment, the creature's surface rippled with strange colors. Then, to everyone's horror, it simply absorbed the energy and grew larger. "Phase 1 ineffective," Sarah reported grimly. "The entity is feeding on our weapons." Similar reports came from 6 other battle groups throughout the system. Every conventional attack, even humanity's most advanced theoretical weapons, only made the devourers stronger. On Luna Station, Zex hung his head in despair. "It's exactly what happened to my people. Your weapons are more sophisticated than ours were, but the result is the same." Co. Yan, however, was studying her readings with intense focus. "Wait, look at these energy patterns. The devourers aren't just absorbing matter and energy randomly. They're converting everything into a specific type of quantum structure. What does that mean?" Zircon asked. "It means they have limitations," she said excitedly. "They can only process matter and energy that fits their conversion pattern. If we give them something incompatible... In Earth Command, Minjun received Co. Yan's data transmission. His eyes widened as he understood the implications. "All units, fall back to Phase 2 positions. Prepare exotic matter deployment." The human fleet retreated as the devourers continued consuming Jupiter. The massive gas giant was disappearing at an alarming rate, but humanity's trap was being set. Hidden throughout the asteroid belt, humanity had placed the real weapons, not conventional bombs or energy weapons, but containers of artificially created exotic matter that existed in quantum states incompatible with normal physics. When they try to absorb this, Min Jun explained to President Martinez, "It should be like a computer trying to process corrupt data. It won't destroy them, but it might disrupt their feeding process long enough for Phase 3. Martinez frowned. "What's Phase 3? Min Jun's smile was cold as space itself. "Phase 3 is when we stop playing defense and show these things what humanity does to bullies." As the devourers moved toward the asteroid belt, none of them sensed the trap waiting. They had consumed 43 civilizations by following the same feeding patterns. They had never encountered a species crazy enough to weaponize incompatible reality itself. Asterisk, the asteroid belt had become humanity's killing field. As the 7 devourers approached the scattered debris, they encountered humanity's Phase 2 weapons, exotic matter, bombs that existed in quantum states fundamentally, incompatible with normal physics. Dr. Co. Yan watched from Luna Station as the first devourer extended its feeding tendrils toward an asteroid containing her experimental quantum-locked matter. "Now we see if impossible physics beats cosmic horror," she whispered. The moment the creature touched the exotic matter, reality itself seemed to glitch. The devourer's perfectly smooth absorption process stuttered, its dark form flickering like a damaged hologram. Strange colors, colors that shouldn't exist, rippled across its surface. "It's working," shouted Zircon, monitoring the readings. "The entity's quantum matrix is destabilizing." But the effect lasted only minutes. With visible effort, The Devourer purged the incompatible matter and resumed feeding. Though noticeably slower than before, Commander Sarah Chun received the data from multiple battle groups. All ships confirm Phase 2 results. Devourers are disrupted but adapting. They're learning to avoid the exotic matter deposits. In Earth Command, Min Jun Kim watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Good. They're acting exactly as we predicted. Time for Phase 3. President Martinez studied the deployment orders Min Jun handed her. Her face went pale. This is insane. You're talking about weaponizing our entire industrial capacity. Ma'am, these things have destroyed 43 civilizations. Half measures won't work. Min Jun's voice carried absolute conviction. We need to show them that humanity doesn't just fight back. We escalate until we win. Ambassador Zex had joined them in the command center, studying human battle plans with growing amazement and horror. You're going to turn your entire asteroid mining operation into weapons? Not just mining operations, Min Jun corrected. Manufacturing plants, space stations, even some of our older ships. Everything becomes ammunition. Admiral David Chan's voice came through the communication system. Phase 3 deployment beginning. All civilian personnel evacuate to inner system safe zones. What happened next had never been attempted in galactic history. Humanity began dismantling their own infrastructure and turning it into weapons. Asteroid mining ships became kamikaze vessels loaded with exotic matter. Manufacturing stations were converted into massive railguns. Even civilian transports were fitted with experimental quantum disruptors. Jung-Hoon Park, now serving as tactical coordinator, announced the next phase. Zarkonian fleet, take position behind our lines. Human fleet, begin asymmetric assault pattern. The human attack was unlike anything the Devourers had encountered. Instead of conventional battle formations, human ships attacked in seemingly random patterns, single vessels kamikaze diving into the creatures, groups of fighters swarming like angry insects, larger ships firing exotic matter shells and immediately retreating. They're trying to understand our tactics, Sarah observed from the Indomitable as she watched a Devourer attempt to predict her ship's movement pattern. Good thing we don't have any. Asterisk. Dr. C.O. Yon had developed humanity's most horrifying weapon yet, self-replicating exotic matter that consumed normal matter and converted it into more incompatible quantum states. It's like giving them indigestion that spreads, she explained to a horrified Ambassador Zex. This is madness. Zex protested. You're risking destabilizing local space-time. Better than being extinct, Sarah's brother Admiral Chun replied grimly. Besides, we've run computer simulations. The effect should be localized to this system. Should be? Zirkin asked nervously. 97% confidence, CEO Yan admitted. The other 3% involves creating a localized reality bubble where physics work differently. The battle had been raging for 18 hours when something unprecedented happened. One of the smaller Devourers, overwhelmed by incompatible exotic matter, began to destabilize completely. Its dark form flickered, then collapsed into a point of impossible light before vanishing entirely. Confirmed kill, shouted Jung-Hoon from his sensor station. One Devourer eliminated. The remaining 6 entities suddenly changed behavior. Instead of their methodical feeding pattern, they began coordinating their movements, working together to purge exotic matter contamination and avoid human attacks. They're learning, Min Jun observed, adapting to our tactics faster than expected. Ambassador Zex watched the tactical display with awe. In all recorded encounters, no species has ever destroyed a Devourer. How did you accomplish this? Min Jun smiled coldly. Because every other species tried to fight them like they were natural phenomena. We're fighting them like they're enemies. There's a difference. President Martinez authorized the final protocol. Initiate Phase 4. All stop measures. Sarah Chun felt a chill as she read the Phase 4 orders. Humanity was about to unleash something that would ensure the Devourers never threatened anyone again, even if it meant making Earth itself uninhabitable. Asterisk Phase 4 was humanity's final answer to an extinction threat. If you can't coexist, ensure mutual destruction favors your side. Dr. Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as the most terrifying weapons in human history were deployed throughout the Sol system. All ships. Confirm Phase 4 readiness. Admiral David Chun announced from Earth Command. This is not a drill. We are implementing the Scorched Galaxy Protocol. Ambassador Zex watched in horror as humanity revealed their ultimate strategy. You're turning your entire star system into a weapon, he whispered to Min Jun Kim. Not just a weapon, Min Jun corrected grimly. A trap that will follow them wherever they go. The 6 remaining Devourers had learned to work together, sharing information about human tactics and exotic matter threats. They moved more cautiously now, testing each asteroid and moon before feeding. They had no idea they were walking into humanity's final gambit. Dr. Siu Yun's voice crackled through the communication network from her laboratory on Luna Station. Phase 4 deployment complete. All exotic matter has been quantum entangled with tracking nanobots. When the Devourers absorb contaminated matter, they'll carry our surprise with them. President Martinez stood in Earth Command, her face pale but determined. What exactly are we unleashing on the galaxy? Self-replicating quantum viruses, Cao Yo-Yan explained. They're programmed to remain dormant until they detect Devourer quantum signatures. Then they activate and begin converting normal matter into incompatible exotic states. Anything the infected Devourers touch becomes a weapon against them. Young-hoon Park monitored the tactical display as human ships executed their final attack pattern. All vessels, initiate kamikaze protocols. Remember, we're not trying to destroy them here. We're ensuring they carry our gift to every corner of the galaxy. The human fleet launched their final assault with suicidal determination. Ships loaded with quantum virus-infected exotic matter dove directly into the Devourers, allowing themselves to be consumed. To the alien entities, it appeared humanity had finally resorted to desperate, futile attacks. Commander Sarah Chun piloted her ship directly into the largest Devourer, her final transmission echoing across space. For every species you've murdered, for every world you've consumed, this is humanity's answer. The Indomitable vanished into the creature's dark mass, adding its quantum-infected exotic matter to the entity's system. Across the battlefield, hundreds of human ships followed suit. Ambassador Zex watched the sacrifice with tears in his silver eyes. They're dying to save people they've never met, he said to Zircon. That's what makes them dangerous, replied the younger Zarkonian. They don't calculate survival odds. They just fight until they win, or there's nothing left to protect. Within hours, all 6 Devourers had consumed infected matter. Satisfied with their victory over another primitive species, they began to leave the Sol system to continue their galactic feeding cycle. They had no idea they were now carriers of humanity's final revenge. The quantum viruses remained dormant as the Devourers traveled across space, seeking new worlds to consume. It wasn't until they reached the Veltar system's remains and began feeding that the trap activated. Dr. Siu Yan, monitoring quantum sensors from Luna Station, detected the first activation 8 months later. It's working, she announced to the survivors. Devourer quantum signatures are destabilizing across multiple star systems. The quantum viruses spread exactly as designed. Each time an infected Devourer fed, it contaminated new matter with exotic quantum states. When other Devourers encountered this contaminated matter, they became infected too. The virus spread through their entire species, like a plague tailored to their feeding habits. Min Jun, now Director of Galactic Defense, received reports from Zarkonian scout ships throughout the galaxy. confirmed reports from 47 star systems. Devourers are dying in mass. Some are fleeing to empty space, but the quantum infection follows them wherever they go. Within 2 years, the last devourer had perished, its quantum matrix completely destabilized by humanity's exotic matter virus. The species that had consumed 43 civilizations had been eliminated by a young race they had underestimated. Ambassador Zek stood in the memorial hall on Luna Station, reading the names of human ships and crews that had sacrificed themselves. "Your people saved the galaxy," he said to Sarah, who had survived her kamikaze run by ejecting at the last moment. "No," Sarah replied quietly. "Our people made sure that if we were going to die, we'd take the threat with us. That's the human way. We don't just fight for ourselves. We fight to make sure the bullies can never hurt anyone else." The galaxy was safe, but at a cost that would be remembered forever. Humanity had proven that sometimes the only way to defeat absolute evil is with absolute determination. The Devourers had sought to consume another young civilization. Instead, they had awakened a species that would rather burn down the entire galaxy than let evil go unpunished. In the end, that had been enough. The end asterisk.